Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Claire. I'm a contract librarian on assignment here with NOAA Central Library. This seminar series is offered through the NOAA Central Library Seminar Program, which provides an educational forum for the presentation of ideas, research updates, and news in support of NOAA's mission. Before we start, I have a few technical tips for attendees. Just so you are aware, you are muted and you are not able to unmute. However, if you have a question, you can type it into the question panel, and we will get to those during the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. If you're having any audio or visual issues, if you can't hear the speaker or see the slides, please try logging off and logging back on, and that will solve most issues in GoToWebinar. As a reminder, this is being recorded. If you would like to revisit this seminar or view previous seminars in this series, you can find them on our YouTube. Now I'm going to turn it over to Peg, who's going to introduce the speaker today.
Thank you, Claire. Today, it concludes our 2021 EBM/EBFM seminar series, and we're very happy to have Dave Reed and Laura Bowie from the Gulf of Mexico Alliance. Today, we're continuing our series, which began in November 2017, that showcases the excellent projects that are being implemented not only by NOAA, but our partners. And today, we have one of our partners joining us today. To increase awareness regarding ecosystem-based fisheries management and all highlighting the initiatives that our partners are undertaking, and to enable fisheries staff to highlight their own work. NOAA Library has been our co-host for the series since the beginning, and I really want to acknowledge their support throughout the entire year. Claire and Katie Rowley. Well, the seminars are held on the second Wednesday of each month, and we'll continue that into the next year. They are at between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Each presentation is publicly accessible and recorded and archived by the library at their YouTube channel. And following today's presentation, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions, as Claire has outlined. This particular year, we focused on getting an update and overview from the regional ocean partnerships that have existed for a number of years. And today, as I mentioned, we have the Gulf of Mexico Alliance representatives joining us today. We've had the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic and the West Coast partnerships in our previous presentations this year, and that all can be found on our archives, the YouTube archives. So please, let me welcome Laura Bowie, who's the executive director, is in transit, and she should be joining us at some point, hopefully during this presentation. But Dave Reed, the program director, has graciously taken the lead to give us the update from the Alliance and talk a bit about their recent document that's been made available, the new Governor's Action Plan, and also to focus in on the data portal, which many of the regional ocean partnerships have been focused in on. So I'll turn this over now to Dave. And again, thank you for joining us today, Dave. And hopefully we'll hear from Laura along the way. Thank you.
Oh, awesome. Well, thanks, Peg. And I am so very happy to be here today and to, wrap up the series. I didn't realize I was, last up to bat, but I'm happy to bring the series home in the final presentation. Well, again, thanks for hosting us and letting us share this about you, share our action plan with you, and going along the ecosystem-based management. Peg, when you said that, that is just rings so many bells from my career, both at the state and with the Alliance and working in the Gulf. It's really kind of what I'm not going to focus on ecosystem-based management, but everything that underlies ecosystem-based management. So our action plan, is how we get things done. And today I'm going to be telling you a little bit about, GOMA in general, just for those of you that don't know who we are, shock, and give you the details of our Governor's Action Plan. And then I'll show you our new regional data sharing platform, just through slides, but there'll be links, that you can access it later. And then finally, I have just a few announcements, all for us working together to do good for the Gulf. So with that, I'll jump right in and advance my slides. All right, so first, here's a little bit of the background that I said, in case anyone is super new. If this is super new to anyone, it will really kind of context and frame the rest of the discussions today. GOMA is a regional network of stakeholders initiated by the 5 Gulf state governors in 2004, collectively to address priority issues concerning the Gulf of Mexico. Our mission is to enhance the ecological and economic health of the Gulf of Mexico through increased regional collaboration. I'm going to say that one more time, increased regional collaboration. So, and just so you know, there'll be a quiz at the end. And here's an answer: increased regional collaboration. That's really, those 3 words are key to everything that we do in the Alliance. That's what the governors are trying to foster all those years ago. And good googly moogly, it's stuck, right? Even today, we're still meeting, still coordinating, and still collaborating on priority issues concerning the Gulf. So you kind of might be wondering, who is GOMA exactly? Well, we have approximately 1,000 active members from state and federal agencies, NGOs, academia, and businesses. There are about 150 organizations that voluntarily participate on our teams, committees, and working groups. And we have 2 advisory committees, a federal working group that comprises about 150 people, probably a lot of you guys on the horn right now listening. Awesome, thanks. And then we also have a business advisory council, which encompasses like 7 of the largest industries in the Gulf. You can see those in the, I guess, the hunter green circles on the image there: oil and gas, tourism, manufacturing, marine transportation. So that's us. And here's our structure. You can see that the foundation for GOMA is the governors, the box across the top. But they proxy the daily duties down to the directors of the natural resource agencies in the state. So they, along with the federal agencies like EPA, NOAA, of course, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife, govern GOMA. We have those 2 advisory councils that I mentioned earlier, the business advisory and the federal working group. And we have a small staff in that light blue box that are experts at spinning plates. We're the ones that kind of keep big spoons, keep everything stirring, moving, plates spinning on those sticks. It's fast and furious. And then the green boxes that you see at the bottom, that's where all the work gets done in the Alliance. Those are our priority issue teams and our cross-team initiatives. So this is all right, so guys, don't freak out. This is a busy slide. I know it's a busy slide. So this is where the planning, the projects, and the real work gets done. It's a lot of names, I know, but there's a reason. It takes a lot of names to make these teams work. So each of our teams is chaired and coordinated by a state agency. That's the people in green. The teams also have a steering committee comprised of representatives from all of the 5 states, again in green. All of our teams have reps from our federal partners that serve as liaisons. Those are the guys and girls in blue. Not police officers, but blue text, sorry. And then plus there are just so many more people that are instrumental in making the teams work. This is enough. The list goes on and on and on, but you can kind of get an idea that it takes a lot, but we're very, very effective. The leadership team also has those the cross-team initiatives, that have 2 or more teams, and you can see, the conservation restoration, the teams that are involved in that cross-team initiative. Marine debris, super popular, super busy, super engaged with water resources in our education team. And then the human benefits of nature, which is really our ecosystem services team. We actually changed the name of it from I think ecosystem services in the last action plan to something that was more encompassing of what that group and what that cross-team initiative is doing. And that actually, you can see the link at the bottom of the screen for all of the slides that I just showed you. So this is us, a little ragtag group of plate spinners, right? Together, we all oversee the programs and activities that GOMA is involved in on a daily basis, whether it's the teams themselves, or some of the Montgomery Science, or finding Gulf Star partners, or paying bills, or issuing grants or contracts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything that takes place in running the alliance, these are the people that are doing it. We're spread out across the region, but we can all be found in one location on our website. You can see at the very bottom right that we've got 2 vacancies for right now. We're in the process of trying to fill our communications manager, and this is a brand new position that we just started this year. Actually, the position will start next year. We're in the process of reviewing applications. GOMA is having its first DEI fellow, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we're super excited about that position and to be able to expand that program with our partners around the Gulf. Okay, oops, sorry, went too fast. So really, how does it work? How does GOMA work? And this is really kind of key, and it's going to lead up to the slides that when I'm starting to talk about the regional data sharing in our open data platform. So every so many years, we issue a governor's action plan, and that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about next, as it leads into the governor's action plan is really kind of the basis for our open data platform, and I'll get more into that here in a little bit. So what is an action plan, you might ask? Oh, thanks, I'm glad you did. It is our version of a strategic plan, or basically a master plan, that identifies our priorities, our goals, and our objectives. So specifically, all of GOMA's action plans have to show support from the governors, as well as document our overarching goals and priorities for regional collaboration. We've published 4. Our most recent one is in the bottom right, Governor's Action Plan 4 for Healthy and Resilient Coasts. And you'll notice, if you can see on there, all 5 state governors have signed them all. And that's really key for us. We really can't move forward without signatures and support from the governors. It's how we started, it's how we've maintained, and it's how we continue to do business. And it's not easy to get the 5 governors of different political stripes to, all support 40+ pages of environmental language. But let me tell you, they read every word. I've been involved since on the very tail end of the alliance with Action Plan 1, 2, actually I think it's 2, 2006, actually, and then all of 2009 Action Plan 2, all of Action Plan 3, and making the swap from state lead over to staff. I had a different perspective working on Action Plan 4, and let me tell you, when we say the governors read every word, the governors read every word, and they will find a single word and say, we need to find something else. So signatures, state governor signatures on this document is impressive. I always thought, it was like, oh yeah, that's great. But seeing the work that went behind getting those signatures was pretty impressive. And how do we do that? Well, we do that by working from the bottom up, basically. Each of these plans were created by members of the GOMA teams, all of those names in green and blue that you saw earlier. And it's, if you're a part of the team, you know how it can be a painstaking process to get that language together. All of that stuff has not been dictated from the top down from those executive offices. Our process to enact or to develop and to publish an action plan really starts with stakeholders identifying priorities that could use a regional collaborative approach. And so the teams get together and then they write up actions that they feel could be achieved within a 5-year plan. The state and the federal agency directors review and agree upon those, agree to put their financial support into those and behind those actions. And then finally, it goes up to the governors, and they agree to support those actions that are regional in nature and important for enhancing the ecological and economic health of the Gulf. And that was like in a nutshell how the whole process works. So it's a lot, I don't want to say it's painful, but it's a lot busier than those couple bullets that I just told you guys about. So there's the newest one, and we're actually really, really proud of it. We did, new look, new feel, new layout, new design, new color scheme. We're coming out with new. it was just released in October. It has, very similar overarching goals as our previous plan. It's forums for collaboration, that's really kind of our signature role. Tools to address regional issues, enabling strategic partnerships, tracking restoration efforts, but it also, this plan contains very specific commitments to sharing or providing access to regional data sets. Spoiler alert, talking about that in a little bit. Serving underserved communities and populations in the Gulf, and incorporating drivers such as sea level rise, climate change, land use change, et cetera, into those planning and models used by the community. So again, back to this action plan directly supports, the ecosystem-based management, and how do we do that, and how can we help with that, and what's needed for the different agencies and the resource managers and the state resource agencies, as it relates to those topics. And so as far as our priorities, you'll recognize that some things are always a priority, right? You just more work to be done, like ecosystem-based management. And, that's what we've added, a couple of new ones into this action plan. So here, real quick, I'm going to kind of walk you through some of, the teams and what those priorities are. So there are chapters devoted to each of our priorities. This one is for the coastal community resilience, and they have several goals that they wanted to accomplish. Namely, they wanted to really increase the use of resilience tools that have been developed over the years, promote proven policies that have worked in the last several years, and they're really focusing on promoting more natural resource strategies. And so you can see those three focus areas that are related to those goals. Next up, we have our data and monitoring team. It's one that's near and dear to my heart. That was the team that I was co-chairing before I became staff here at the Alliance. And old habits, right? Data and monitoring team goals are to provide a common regional guidance for monitoring and mapping so that data sets can have comparability. Huge issue. I'll get more into that when we talk about the regional data sharing plan and our platform. The other goal is that the data monitoring team wants to enable data and monitoring integration into a wide variety of other regional efforts, including those related to restoration monitoring, so that the region will know the status of things if and when another spill like the Deepwater Horizon event, ever happens again. Having those types of baseline information, over time is invaluable. And so you can see the focus areas are two big networks, a mapping network and a monitoring network. And I know you guys have got tons of questions about that. So the mapping network is really focused on coordinating, communicating essential mapping needs and standardized information. Huge if any of you guys are mappers out there. And then the monitoring network really wants to organize the development and implementation of comprehensive monitoring structures to support state and regional programs. So that's really kind of a lot of words to say. They really want to look at best practices, what's being, how programs are monitoring, how comparable is that information and data? Can we compare apples to apples, or what's the crosswalk for those types of activities? Bear with me because it all relates into the platform here momentarily. So next up is our habitat team, and their goals include coordinating the regional status of trends of priority habitats like salt marshes, mangroves, seagrass, oysters, benthic communities. Keep that in mind. That's the quiz question for later. Promote the use of living shorelines instead of hard armoring, and encouraging regional management of dredged materials for restoration and other uses. So those focus areas, you can see the habitat assessment, is focusing on to coordinate and develop, coordinate development and communication of information on priority Gulf Coast habitats needed to make informed management decisions, including restoration strategies. Again, super key in the coming years. Living shorelines focus areas to develop, promote, and evaluate best practices that allow stakeholders to implement those living shorelines as alternate to traditional methods. And then the regional sediment management focus area really is working to coordinate that information that will inform the availability and allocation of Gulf sediment resources. So when you got to put your toes in some nice squishy sand on the beach, it's got to come from somewhere after the hurricane blew through. So that's really, our regional sediment management focus area for the habitat team is working to coordinate that stuff. Our education and engagement team's goal is to simply enhance the stewardship of the Gulf and its watershed, oftentimes through more effective collaboration. So you can see their focus area is the collaborative educational partnerships, which is so key. And I've been able to sit in on several of their team meetings, and really that focus area, they want to increase the collaborative educational partnership to build capacity and expand local, regional, and national learning and action opportunities and stewardship. Really, it's that whole concept of, teach a person to fish and you feed them for a lifetime. Teach a kid about science and build that interest, and they are our next generation of researchers, resource managers, and federal employees, right? The next focus area is the alliance management activities, and that's really focused on integrating all of the alliance activities to promote public awareness and stewardship of the Gulf of Mexico and its watershed. So through the education and engagement team, we want to help spread the word of all the good news and all the good work that we're doing in the Gulf, and we really rely on that team to help us wave the banners. Up next, we have our water resources team, and this includes their team goals include advancing science and technology. Oh, can you see an overlap? Can you see some commonalities? Acquiring new and additional data sets so that more, so much more monitoring is needed to get a complete picture. So they really want to work on building that knowledge base, the information. And then the third one is to demonstrate the connectivity between water quality and quality of life for coastal communities. Like, for example, when you can't swim at your beaches, or when you can't eat the seafood that you catch, it's due to what reasons, and really kind of draw that connection. And that's actually been an overarching issue in several of the action plans. I remember way back when, I think it was an action plan too, that we used to take folks from, down here, we'd go up to the farms, upstate, up the watershed, and say, listen, what you guys are doing up here has directly affects, the seafood that we're harvesting out of the Gulf. So really kind of helping to demonstrate that connectivity between things that are happening up the watershed down to how it affects, us on the beach, and keeping all of those industries profitable. You can see their focus areas are listed below. And I think that this is the last priority issue team. It's our wildlife and fisheries, and their goals are to support diverse wildlife and fisheries populations, and to collect and provide data to policymakers and natural resource managers. Okay, so another common theme is running through several of the teams with data, providing it, and access. So here we go. Their focus areas, looking at species status and trends, conservation, and data sharing. Ding, 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 ding. Before I get to the regional data platform, the last couple of slides here in this section deal with our cross-team initiatives. And you remember back that our cross-team initiative is, two or more of the teams that are getting together and working on a topic that really has come up over, the years, that needs more than just a section in a team's agenda. It's really, it's not quite a priority issue team, but it's more than just a working group. So these are our cross-team initiatives, and we have 3, which means, those multiple teams contribute to achieving their actions. You can see we've got, our coastal resilience team, our habitat resources team, and our wildlife and fisheries team all participate in this one, integrated planning. And their goals are really related to integrating community planning and to include conservation, restoration, and resilience into the efforts by 1, developing tools, and 2, supporting and promoting integrated models. And you can see that they're, Just flipping through the thing, their strategies or their focus areas, for those goals. Now I want to advance. There we go. So the next cross-team initiative is our Human Benefits in Nature. As I said before, that used to be called Ecosystem Services. This one is, participated in by members of our Habitat Resources and Wildlife and Fisheries team. Primarily, they want people to understand how protection, restoration, and management of coastal and marine resources benefit people. Really able to focus on blue economy and ecosystem services is what they want to address over this next action plan. Really, when I mentioned it earlier, we changed the name. We really kind of needed a name, for this that was really reflects how the natural systems are beneficial to us. We did some polling. Ecosystem services, while if you're in that community and it makes perfect sense, but for Joe Public, when they saw ecosystem services, they're like, I'm not sure what that is. So human benefits of nature was more resounding and hit home to a larger crowd. And as you can see, the focus area, those are their focus areas. And finally, our last cross team is marine debris. Members of the Water Resources and Education Engagement team participate in this one. Their goal is to address several issues with marine debris in the Gulf, to address it, to prevent it, and to remove it. And this one is extremely active cross team. A lot of cool, projects and work is coming out of this cross team. So how do we do all that, right? There's that small group of plate spinners, and this is really kind of the other half of the presentation is that regional data sharing, and this is really kind of one way that we get all this work done. All that stuff in the action plan really kind of plays into all the names that I showed you earlier really kind of play into this next section. So our regional data sharing strategy. We recognized a long time ago, way back in Action Plan 2, that we can do more when organizations and people work together. That was the original goal from the 5 Gulf state governors. Actually, I think Jeb Bush was the one who originally came up with the idea and got his buddies and neighboring states together and said, we should do this together. And I even think there might have been a series of bets made at some point in time in our history about what state was doing better, but that's another story for another webinar. So we use this collaborative approach for multiple efforts, including our regional data sharing strategy. So GOMA uses a co-development approach when creating tools and resources. This begins with engaging stakeholders to understand the ways they currently use data, what their needs are, where their gaps of information may be, and then if there are any barriers to accessing that data. From there, we work with key data providers to identify specific data sets for inclusion into our Gulf of Mexico Open Data Platform, and I'm going to refer to that now going forward as GOMOD, or I might just call it the platform, but GOMOD is the acronym that we've come up with. When we connect the key data sets together, we share them publicly. So this was all built on Esri's Hub Technology. So, a side note, GOMA received an industry engagement grant several years ago, and the data and monitoring team, see, this is another one. This is like this project and comes from the team that's near and dear to my heart. The data and monitoring team teamed up with Esri as their industry engagement partner, several years ago, like first couple of years into Action Plan 3, and really developed a excellent working relationship with Esri. And so we've been in, again, contact with them and worked with them over the years. They've come out with a new platform, a hub technology. So when we started developing our Gulf of Mexico Open Data Platform, we quickly began to realize that we needed more than just a visualization tool to display this data. We truly needed to be, or needed to develop a place where, or a location where to connect users with vast GIS resources within the GOMA community. And so we turn to our partners at Esri at the ArcGIS Hub as the best fit for several reasons. So really kind of why did we choose Hub? Great. First, being that broad network of stakeholders, we have a very small headquarters, remember the slide, and multiple priority issues to address. So our organizational capacity is very, very limited. From the start, we have focused on being a data connector, not a data collector. And I can't take credit for that. I'm gonna have to credit Amy Newbold at EPA when we were talking at one of the all hands meetings about this project and we were explaining the concept. Amy's like, oh my gosh, that sounds like it's a data connector, not a data collector. And we snagged it from her and ran. And that has been like, that's the GOMOD mantra, data connector, not a data collector. And it works. It makes sense to a lot of folks. And what that means is we want to connect to and share data from authoritative sources, but we as GOMA do not want to manage, store, and host data ourselves. That has always been the conundrum from Action Plan 2 to now is there, half the field wants to be wants a central repository for data and information. The other half of the field says no, a distributed data, location. We don't want it all our eggs in one basket, not good. So this hub technology and GOMOD is really kind of the in my opinion, the best of both worlds. We have a central location where you can visualize and see it, but it's maintained at the authoritative source. We don't store the data ourselves. Hub gives us the ability to connect to any data source that is publicly shared, and that's what's so awesome about this. We can focus our capacity on identifying and connecting to the data that our stakeholders need, not on being a data provider, which is so key here. Second, for several years, our stakeholders have asked for one place to easily view habitat data for the entire Gulf of Mexico. So you remember showing that slide from the habitat scene, they've identified those priority habitats. Well, they want to know all right, so do I have to go to Florida and I have to go to Mississippi and Louisiana and Texas and did I miss one? Alabama to get that information? Where can I find a lot of that information in one place to easily view that habitat data? This was really the starting point for our open data platform. Our Gulf of Mexico Seagrass Community of Practice drove the initial development of GOMOD based on their need to visualize and understand habitat status and trends for effective research, management, and restoration. It was really that USGS report that came out in 2007 on the status and trends of seagrass that was vital to the seagrass community during the Deepwater Horizon event. That was the seagrass, basically the Bible, where seagrass was located in and around the Gulf after the event occurred. And so, that community really spearheaded, and this was even before we had the concept of GOMOD out there, was, getting together and organizing their information and their data in a way that was comparable across the region. So that our hub platform helps users discover, explore, and access the data they need all in one location. Okay, so here's a cravat. Is that right? Sorry if I said that. Here's a little bit. I don't want to mislead you guys. This is not a comprehensive source. This is an inclusive source. We're trying to include what's needed, and it's really kind of based off of that stakeholder engagement. So those priority habitats are what we're kind of focusing on getting into the hub right now. So even though a lot of our users have varying levels of GIS knowledge and ability, Hub works for the needs of all users across the community, which is another huge plus about using this platform. You don't have to have an ArcGIS Online account to access this information or even to understand it, to see it. It's all available online. If you've got those licenses, well, you are in for a treat. Finally, we've heard from our stakeholders, time and time again, that they are overwhelmed by the number of data sources and tools. And so we know that there's, hundreds of tools and data sources in the Gulf region alone. I mean, heck, we've hosted a tools cafe at our all hands meetings for a number of years now, and we've got over 80 something odd tools in our tools cafe library of people that have demoed tools in and around the Gulf. It was important for us to develop, a location, kind of like a one-stop location where our stakeholders can visualize information from multiple providers and access relevant tools. And again, the hub provides the flexibility to connect to data and tools in multiple ways, taking the burden off of users to find what they use or what they need. So how do, what actually is in GOMOD, and how do we use GOMOD to meet those needs identified by our stakeholders? So a couple of ways that we're doing that, within our platform, we have, habitat maps, theme maps, and GOMA tools. And that's really kind of the gist of it. There's a lot more information in there, but in a nutshell, that's what we've got in GOMOD right now. And you'll see we started off with a region-wide habitat map. This is our seagrass community of practice. What they started, they got together and they worked out, how they are collecting data, how are they organizing it, when they look at presence, absence, percent coverages, how they're collecting it. It's a tiered approach to data collection. So all of those seagrass experts, people that work in seagrass that have that information, they all agreed on a common schema. And so that's really what was used to develop this first priority habitat map within GOMOD. And you can see it's, you zoom in and out. I mean, this is just the information that was posted, I think it's at Fish and Wildlife in Florida, you can see, and the legend, sorry, is covering up, Texas, but it's all being served by the authoritative source, and GOMOD is just harvesting those services and visualizing them on a map. Another good way to think about what we're doing with GOMOD and these habitat maps is, everybody's got, a jigsaw puzzle piece, their favorite puzzle piece, and they bring it to the table, and the puzzle is seagrass. And so they're going to plop their jigsaw puzzle piece down on the seagrass map, take that, apply that to other layers, other habitat layers, same concept. Next up, we have theme maps, and this is really, and again, you guys have heard from the other regional ocean partnerships, and we looked at the other regional ocean partnerships. What are their platforms looking like? How do they organize their information? What are their driving forces? And really, that was a common theme. People liked and were requesting, curated maps of key coastal and ocean data. And so we thought, well, that they're doing it. Yeah, let's do it. That sounds great. And there are specific data sets that are very important to our stakeholders in the Gulf. We've got 3 that are up on GOMOD right now. You can see bathymetry, offshore energy, and priority habitats. Like again, like I said before, it's not comprehensive. It's it's not everything that's out there, but it's some key data sources that are being served. We probably have about another dozen theme maps that are in the works that we hope to be releasing over the next 12 months. So keep posting back to our platform and keep checking back. We've got a email distribution list. If you're interested in that, you can whenever we publish a new theme map, we'll send that information out. But that's got a quick and easy place to find those key data sets that are being served related to those theme maps. And then finally, the tools. We've got information from the Deepwater Horizon Project Tracker, and again, that restoration activities, right? That's going to be a theme that's coming out here shortly. Hopefully by the end of January, we're hoping to release a restoration theme into GOMOD, and that's going to be pulling information from the tracker. What project areas have been focused and targeted for restoration. We're also pulling information from the Gulf Coast Monitoring and Assessment Portal. You know, that's the CMAP project that was part of CMAP on its MAP, not SEAC, the Coastal Monitoring Assessment program. So the CMAP project that was heavily integrated into our Action Plan 3 is also heavily integrated into Action Plan 4 as that inventory of monitoring programs that people are looking for that baseline information, for that information that's needed to do the restoration or to do the work that they need to do according to their state agencies' priorities. Gulf Tree is another tool that's we've got access to in there, and that was another GOMA tool that kind of, it's a catalog of other tools for a mind blank there. Anyway, I'll skip over that part. And then we also have the Storm Smart Gulf. Storm Smart Connect is another tool that's located in GOMOD. So real quick, what's next for our platform? We are spinning up an oyster community of practice, so that's going to be the next comprehensive habitat map that's coming in. I know we've got mangroves, it's hot on their tails. Salt marshes is probably, corals, I think that's in the near future, maybe not in the next 12 months, but maybe in the next 18 to 24 months. I see corals, taking a bigger priority in our habitat maps. Additional theme maps, as I mentioned earlier, we probably have about a dozen that we want to release over the next 12 months or so. And then hub groups. This is another aspect of the platform that we really are excited about exploring and kind of offering our stakeholders. It's that sandbox area that data providers can get together and collaborate on, those common data schemas. So, we plan to open up and develop a hub group for the oyster community of practice, and where that they can bring all their jigsaw puzzle pieces together, put them on a map, and then figure out, okay, how do we make them fit? What's the schema that we want to agree upon that makes regional resource management doable at that scale. So again, that's a new thing for us. We are excited about exploring how to use the groups to do that. So I'm almost done. My last couple of slides are the announcements that I'm going to shamelessly plug. What's on the horizon? I would be remiss if I did not mention GomCon. So, we want to make sure that everybody hears about GomCon and knows what it is. If you've been around the Gulf for a while, you'll remember that the Hart Research Institute would hold a State of the Gulf Summit every 3 years. GOMRI's would hold their GOMOSIS conference every year, and then GOMA has their all hands meetings every year. Well, this GomCon conference, the Gulf of Mexico conference, is a combination of all three of those that have traditionally been rather siloed, academia, policy, natural resource management. So we're trying to create a nexus among these three. This conference is one that's near to dear my heart. I've kind of had feet in both the GOMOSIS and the all hands meetings, and would attend the Gulf Summit when it happened. And connecting the dots, much like GOMOD, it's amazing to listen to the science, apply it to resource management, and see how things can work together for the betterment of the Gulf. So I'm super excited about this conference. We'll have 1 day of pre-meeting workshops on a first come first served basis. We've already got 8 books, so if you know of anybody, contact us quickly. Then we'll have 2 days of plenary followed by oral presentations, and then finally a day for the teams, like the GOMA teams, to get together, or other groups to get together to meet, to do all hands type of work. All in all, it's 4 days of networking with about 1,200 of your closest, nearest, and dearest friends and colleagues that are working to do good things for the Gulf. You can see the announcement or the link at the bottom of the slide. And finally, you saw the empty slide at the very beginning. We are committed to starting a DEI internship program where we place paid interns with state resource agencies across the Gulf. This will be a long-standing multi-year program. We are very, very excited about this one. GOMA's never had a fellow. We've never had an opportunity to do this, so we are super excited about setting up this internship program. Our goal is to increase diversity, equity, and inclusion in the ecosystem science and natural resource management areas. While we plan to place interns in state agencies, we also plan to provide mentors for them and job fairs on a regular basis. We want to, like I mentioned before, entice the bright and talented young people to be interested and be our next resource managers or research scientists or federal employees, and to stick around and lend their expertise to the Gulf, where there's so much work that has been done and still needs to be done. And I think with that, I'm at 45 minutes. I have ended my presentation, and I'm happy to host any questions that you may have.
All right, just a reminder, you can use the questions panel to submit any questions you have for Dave. And I'll give it just a minute here for people to type those in.
Okay, so one of my I don't know if it's a pet peeve or not, but as you guys are typing, silence, right? I'm not good with silence in a presentation. It's like somebody asks a question and nobody says anything, like, okay, so somebody tell a joke, right? While we're waiting for people to fill in questions, right? But I don't have any good jokes. Sorry.
So I think a few questions are coming in. No, I was just gonna say, I think there are a few questions coming in.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so the first question we got here is, what digital meeting platforms do you usually meet on? Zoom, Google Meet, Teams?
I'm sorry, Clay, could you repeat that? You said what meeting
platforms? What digital
platforms?
meeting platforms do you usually meet on?
Oh my gosh, yes. Great
Zoom
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, before the pandemic, it was, conference call lines, right? The rotary dial-up. Now, after the pandemic, we have found that we are extremely effective in multiple digital meeting platforms. We utilize Microsoft Teams. A lot of that's internal with staff. We've got an Office 365 account, but we also, host multiple team meetings with our state partners around the world. We have a GoToMeeting and Zoom. Even though there were some issues with Zoom at the very beginning of the pandemic, we've become very competent running big meetings with Zoom now. I think, what do we do? Zoom is our mid-year. We had a mid-year meeting planned for this past September, and it was going to be an in-person meeting with a hybrid option. And at the very last minute, we ended up going all completely virtual, and we conducted that, 6 concurrent Zoom meeting rooms for our 6 priority issue teams, kind of divide and conquer with all of our plate spinners from the home office, taking a team and working with them behind the scenes to make sure that their team meetings went off without a hitch. All of our AP4 planning was done virtually through, all of those meeting platforms that we used, as well as the use of Jamboard, and there's a couple of other online collaborative tools that we've used to kind of facilitate this. And knock on wood, we didn't miss a beat. We kept everything going, and that's probably more information that you wanted to know for that question. Sorry. Next.
Thanks, Dave. The next question is, are there data sets that you offer through your hub unique to GOMA, or are they also served by other orgs? Other agencies are also setting up data as a service, web services, which make it really easy to access and share and geo-collaborate to connect people in real time.
All right, so yes and no. I mean, that's a great question. So data sets that are unique to GOMA, right now, that seagrass data set that's on our hub is unique to the Alliance because it has the community of practice data schema associated with it. So that tiered approach to data collection, presence, absence, percent coverage, species, I can't remember all the details behind that community. But no, everything else on GOMOD is a service that somebody else is. It's that authoritative service. I foresee going forward in the future that those combined habitat maps that use that, that develop those communities that develop a common schema, data schema for attributes will probably be unique to the Alliance. But for the most part, we're really relying on those authoritative sources and the services that GOMOD can ingest.
Thanks. The next question here, have you seen the neat use of GIS to do remote site visits? We have done that for some congressional staff visits that would have been an on-site visit before, combined with our local video.
Oh, Claire, I am so sorry that you kind of faded out a little bit when you were asking that question. I might ask you to repeat it one more time.
Sure, just a sec. I will also put it in the chat for you so that you can read it.
Oh, perfect.
But the question is, have you seen the neat use of GIS to do remote site visits?
Oh, I have not. So that is interesting. The use of GIS to do remote site visits. I would be interested in learning more about that. That is very interesting to me as we move into this next action plan, and having just come off of all of this, everybody, the pandemic, and as we start to get back together and hopefully host these in-person meetings, I can see that being a very valuable tool for us to explore. I'm not sure, whoever sent that, please reach out to me and let me know more about that. I'm interested to learn more.
Okay, great. So I just got through all the questions we have currently. I'm going to wait a few more seconds just to see if any others come through.
So Dave, this is Peg. I just want to thank you and Laura for putting this together. And I don't think Laura has joined us today, but please extend our appreciation to her for her willingness to be here, and especially to you for following through. This is a great presentation. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure. I know she was coming, she had a meeting in Texas, and I know that, well, I was slotted to fly into, I was to New Orleans yesterday and was going to do this from our home office in Ocean Springs, but came from Tampa, got all the way to New Orleans, did a couple circles, and then came back to Tampa. The fog was too heavy, and I couldn't land. And so I was like, I got all the way to New Orleans, but couldn't.
Well, we appreciate all your efforts, both you and Laura, for contributing to this presentation today.
Well, thanks for the opportunity. We absolutely, love it and are happy to, answer any questions, or if anybody has anything follow up. They wake up in the middle of the night thinking, oh man, I forgot to ask Dave this question. Please don't ever hesitate to reach out and ask either one of us, myself or Laura.
Your contact information there is on that slide, so that's a great way to get back to you. So I don't think there are any other questions, are there, Claire? I think we're...
Nope, that's all of them we got.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you all. And I just want to give folks a reminder that we're going to start up the year 2022 with our next EBM seminar series. And it'll again be the second Wednesday of each month. January 12th, we have Tony Marshak from the NCOS office, NOS NCOS office, who has recently authored a book with our colleague Jason Link, and the title of their presentation is Ecosystem-Based Fisheries Management, Progress, Importance, and Impacts in the United States. So we hope you see you all again on, or hope you visit with us on January 12th, and we have about 4 or 5 other speakers lined up for the 2022. So stay tuned, and hope you can join us.
Great,
so thank you, Dave.
Again, Peg.
Yes, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you everyone for joining us.
All these are archived at the NOAA Library YouTube channel if you want to see the past presentations as well.
Yep, you'll be able to find this presentation on YouTube later this afternoon. When the presentation ends, you will see a survey. If you could take the time to fill that out, we do use those surveys to improve marketing our library seminar service and to inform future seminar topics. Thank you all again for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.